This is the Film Geeks Podcast.
Oh my God! What a right hand! Thunderous right hand, and another one. Undertaker's, he can't defend himself. His hands are down. Oh, look out here. Momentum. Oh man! And a huge spear into the heart of the Undertaker, and Roman Reigns has defeated the Undertaker at Wrestlemania.
The WWE Universe clashing with the broken universe. What is going on with NXT? Did WrestleMania live up to your expectations? And how much wrestling is too much wrestling? Inquiring minds want to know, and we'll tackle all of this and more on this very special edition of the Film Geeks Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the granddaddy of them all, the ultimate thrill ride of all podcasts. Welcome to a very special WrestleMania weekend-themed edition of the Film Geeks Podcast, powered by Indian Nerve. This is Abhishek, and joining me are the marks from the Indian Nerve stable, Raman and Malia. So how are you guys doing? How was WrestleMania weekend for you?
WrestleMania weekend was mostly, I think, tiring. I think I'm still pretty sleep deprived at the moment. You can call me broken Aditya Malia because I've had very little sleep in the last 24 to 48 hours. I woke up at 2 a.m. I mean, I intended to only watch the main show, but I actually ended up waking up out of excitement at like 2 a.m. So I watched the pre-show from 2:30 a.m. And I watched the main card from 4:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. and I went to work straight after that. And then this morning I did the same thing again for Raw, waking up at 5:30 a.m. So yeah, that's how I feel at the moment.
So for me, like I took off on Monday, and so because of that, I am not like that sleep deprived as Malia. But yes, I second him. I woke up to watch the pre-show and ended up watching the whole WrestleMania event, and it was good. You know, it was good. It didn't meet the expectations, but it did turn out to be worth the watch.
You know what? For me, you guys, your weekend or probably your WrestleMania weekend started on Monday, early Monday mornings here in India. But for me, my WrestleMania weekend started at Saturday night because my WrestleMania started with the Hall of Fame. I watched the entire Hall of Fame, and then I watched the ROH Supercard, which was awesome, by the way. I highly recommend that you guys check that out. It's available online. You guys can go. And you guys are smart enough to know where you guys can check that out. Especially check out the ladder match between the Broken Hardys versus the Bucks of Youth, or the Young Bucks. That was a fucking amazing match. It was one of the greatest ladder matches which I watched. You guys should definitely check that out. And post that, I watched, obviously, WrestleMania. And then I watched Raw. So it was, I'm still very groggy. I haven't had a lot of sleep this entire weekend, so all that's been keeping me going are cups, are bottles of Coke and cups of coffee, and that's basically it. And without wasting any more time, let's just go and talk about WrestleMania. And WrestleMania, this was WrestleMania 33 live from Orlando, Florida. That's where WrestleMania was held this year, from the Citrus Bowl, or the World Camping Ground. The kickoff show started with, in my opinion, the best match of the entire card. That was Neville versus Austin Aries for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. And it was a smart move on a couple of levels. Well, they could start off the night with the purple ropes and change it for the rest of the night. So logistically, it made sense. And they could also present the stellar showcase of athletic ability between the two. And also, because these guys are two of the best wrestlers that WWE has currently. Austin Aries finally makes his WrestleMania debut with someone like me who has been following his career for quite a while. Really enjoyed. And obviously, Neville also, I'm a huge fan of. He received a pretty good entrance and looked like a true heel as he walked out to the ring. It was a great match. We swung back and forth. And for the finishing segment, Aries hit Neville with an outstanding Hurricane Rana and followed it up with a 450 slash off the top rope. But Neville kicked out. And when it looked like Austin Aries was out of ideas, he caught Neville in a last chancery. But then again, Neville raked Aries' face and pulled at his damaged orbital socket. Aries was forced to give up his hold, and that would be the mistake which Neville took advantage of. And Neville climbed on the top rope, hit a WrestleMania Red Arrow, and pinned Aries for a 3 count. It looks currently that the King of the Cruiserweights is going to keep his throne for a little bit longer, but Austin Aries didn't lose much heat while losing. I thought he put up an amazing effort, and without Neville's cheap tactics, he would have actually won. But then again, that's what a heel is supposed to do. And normally a heel loses the title, but this time, this WrestleMania, things were a little different. And this was, in fact, I thought a great start to the show. What did you guys think? Let's start with you, Raman.
Neville, how has he transformed after that injury? He was like a true baby face when he moved up the roster to Raw. And now, after his injury, he is now a through and through heel. And the match was really good. We expected a lot of high-flying stunts. And the match was mostly balanced. But towards the end, the match inclined towards Austin Aries, and I thought the title will change hands as normally most of us expected. And then Neville, as you mentioned, he did the heel act. That made Aries lose his focus, and then Neville took control and did the beautiful red arrow. That made him keep the title, and it was pretty much unexpected from my end because I was through and through thinking that Austin Aries will get the title because he recently migrated from a commentator to a through and through cruiserweight player, and the whole crowd was actually into Austin Aries and was pushing for him to win the title. But the whole dimension changed when Neville hit the red arrow.
One of the reasons I wanted to watch the pre-show is because I wanted to watch this match. I think the build for the match was one of the best builds on the card. And I also am a fan of both Neville and Austin Aries. I was really looking forward to this match, and it didn't disappoint me. I also expected, WWE to go with the conventional route of having the babyface win the Cruiserweight title opening match, but they didn't do that. And although I was a little disappointed that, we didn't get that WrestleMania moment of Austin Aries winning a championship, I think in hindsight I actually prefer the way WWE went about this because, as you said, Abhishek, Austin Aries was protected because they went with the injured body part with the orbital eye socket and all that. And also Neville's been, I think, really good, as Vinod said, since he came back from the injury. He's been doing really well as a heel, and I like how they're booking him so strongly. It's rare to see somebody in the cruiserweight division being booked like this badass, unstoppable guy. So I'm really interested to see where they take that. I think they could have some really nice feuds if they keep the title on Neville for a while. Like when he eventually loses, it's going to be a big deal. So I think I like the way that they went with this match.
Well, I honestly feel that Neville should definitely keep it, because also what works out to his advantage is he is a little bit more bigger than most cruiserweights, and that obviously adds to the advantage, adds to the allure, especially if you're a heel, if you're a little bigger. Then obviously it makes for a very good story if a genuinely over babyface is trying to take you down. Always plays to your advantage. A David versus Goliath. Spectrum, a David versus Goliath story always goes over, no matter if it's 1970s, 80s, 90s, or even 2000s. Next up, we have the Andrew the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, the return to WrestleMania once again this year, and the stars of the WWE, and it's like a stretch used very loosely. The stars of the WWE battled each other as they attempted to win the coveted trophy. I'm not really sure if any of this is true. I don't think this trophy is coveted. I don't think any of these stars were there. But either way, it happened. But sadly, a few days ago, Big Show confirmed that WrestleMania 33 will be his last appearance at the grandest stage of them all, which means that unless something changes drastically, this was likely his last WrestleMania match. Big Show obviously got a grand entrance followed by Braun Strowman. Big Show and Braun Strowman, interestingly, seemed like the heavy favorites to win this match, but unfortunately, they were eliminated very early. And from then, I personally thought Sami Zayn, who would be awarded with this trophy, but that was not the case. And that way, for me personally, Battle Royal didn't deliver in that regard. But at the end, it was Sami Zayn, Mojo Rawley, Jinder Mahal, and Killian Dane from NXT. Killian eliminated Sami Zayn, and then Jinder Mahal beat down on Mojo Rawley on the outside in front of this guy called Rob Gronkowski, who plays in the NFL for New England Patriots, I think. So Jinder threw a drink at the Gronk, as he's popularly known, and then got back to the ring. Gronk then hopped the barricade, and funnily he was being stopped by this little policewoman out there. He got to the ring and joined the match, which was a throwback to Lawrence Taylor when Lawrence Taylor came down and beat down on Bam Bam Bigelow way back when. So that was a nice throwback, I thought. So Gronkowski came, he hit a running shoulder tackle on Jinder Mahal, and then Mojo got back in the ring and Gronk left. Mojo eliminated Killian and then Jinder Mahal to win the match. So what did you guys think? Basically a nothing match. Let's start with you, Aditya.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same thoughts as you. Like when I heard that Big Show was retiring, I thought that there was a chance that they would give him the farewell victory. But then he got eliminated, and I thought obviously Braun Strowman is going to win. And then I switched to Sami Zayn, and when Sami Zayn, I believe he was the fourth last to go out. So I think I also thought the new NXT guy had a shot, and then it came down to Jinder and Mojo early, which was very perplexing. I don't know. I think I would have probably preferred it if somebody like Big Show or Braun Strowman had won, but I also like the fact that this was a really random choice, which, as I mentioned, I think on the Facebook group. Random upsets do happen in the real sports. So I think like WWE should do stuff like that once in a while just to give it that realistic, unpredictable feel. Yeah, I mean like Mojo Rawley, I don't know what to make of him winning. I guess we'll just have to stay tuned and see what they do with this. Yeah, I mean one thing that I would like to see them do with this match though is it's become, as you said, Abhishek, right? Like I don't know whether it's really coveted. I don't know what this match means. So I think they need to have a bit of stakes in this match. Like maybe not just, instead of presenting the winner with like some weird, huge, unwieldy, pointless trophy, maybe like give him a title shot sometime in the year or something like that. Just something to add a little more stakes to the match. That's my personal take on it.
Speaking about lack of stakes and a complete state of disarray, which has become, sadly, the Intercontinental Championship. I grew up watching wrestling at a time when the Intercontinental Championship was one of the most coveted prizes. All of my favorite wrestlers growing up, Shawn Michaels, Edge for that matter, Chris Jericho, they were all Intercontinental Championships. And in fact, one of the greatest WrestleMania matches is for the Intercontinental Championship in WrestleMania 3 when Ricky the Dragon Steamboat took on Randy Savage. That's one of the greatest matches of all time. And that was for the Intercontinental Championship. And sadly, this has been relegated over the past 5 or 6 years, and this year it was, as always, Dean Ambrose versus Baron Corbin. Dean Ambrose, in fact, defended this title, and the match, in fact, got very violent very quickly. The build-up to this match was horrible. It was like one of the worst build-up matches this year. The action quickly spilled to the outside, and Corbin and Ambrose threw everything at each other, but nothing stuck. Dean tried to hit a spade in the clothesline of the ropes. Corbin stopped him with a big boot and followed up with a deep six, which was botched, by the way, and Ambrose kicked out. Ambrose also tried for the dirty deeds, but Corbin followed up with another deep six for a close 2 count. Baron Corbin got in Dean's face. This is at the finish, and then told him that he's leaving the Intercontinental Championship. All of this in the match, and he tried it with the end of this, but Ambrose followed up with the dirty deeds for the win. And going into WrestleMania 33, Baron Corbin seemed like to be the favorite to walk out with the Intercontinental Championship, but this looks like this feud will be continuing because Ambrose retained. And this is the problem I have with Ambrose, all right? Dean Ambrose is stuck in this role, I feel, and he's stuck in limbo because of a very fuck-all moveset that he has. I used to love this guy in the Indies because he was so unhinged. I mean, this lunatic fringe character is basically him playing a drunk guy, which was his gimmick in the Indies. But now it's just a joke because, oh my God, look at him, he's crazy, he doesn't know what he's going to do. But it doesn't work most of the time, and especially now it does not work. Vinod, what did you think about this match?
Dean Ambrose is turning into an opposite of Midas touch, right? Look, like anything he touches, it gets into completely boring. I second your opinion where there is no character development, there is nothing. All he's doing is his own goofy interviews and getting beat up by Baron Corbin, what's been happening for the past couple of months. And to see the Intercontinental Championship relegated to a WrestleMania pre-show, it was a disaster in itself. And the match, it was, I would say this was the most boring match of the whole WrestleMania event. And like I said with the Cruiserweight division match, I expected Baron Corbin to get hold of the Intercontinental Championship because Dean has been holding it ever since he took over from Miz. It's going nowhere. He's just feuding with Baron Corbin, and they have feuded with each other at least for the last 2 or 3 pay-per-views. The match was tilted towards Baron Corbin most of the times. It was quite amusing to see Dean Ambrose hitting a dirty deeds out of nowhere and claiming the championship. It doesn't make any sense. I really don't know where is this going to go.
Yeah, I think Ambrose needs like a heel turn badly. I think that goofy lunatic thing has just run its course now. I want to see him like turn heel, and I want to see him going like being a little lunatic in like a really edgy and insane way. Some of his old John Moxley promos are like, I think that's what I want him to channel like going forward. He badly needs like a character change.
You know what he really needs? All he needs is to go back home, put on the WWE Network, and check out some of the old Brian Pillman promos, because that's exactly what he wants to be, and that's what the company wants him to be. So if you want to go lunatic, go full lunatic and go full Brian Pillman, because Brian Pillman, in my opinion, is one of the greatest promos of all time, one of the greatest in-ring technicians of all time. You guys should definitely go out of your way to check out some old Brian Pillman stuff from WCW and early WWF, as it was known back then. And from there, we move on to the main show. And Tinashe sang America the Beautiful as the New Day came out, New Day being the official hosts of this year's WrestleMania. They came out to kick off the show as hosts, and they were preceded by a massive fireworks display. New Day came out with the New Day Pops card in tow, and they cracked a few jokes, and WrestleMania was well and truly kicking off. And kick-starting the show, the main show, was surprisingly AJ Styles versus the Jiu-Jitsu expert Shane McMahon. Styles, in fact, toyed with Shane McMahon to start off the match and played mind games as soon as the bell rang, and they quickly locked up. And Styles got the upper hand when he kept taunting Shane McMahon throughout the first half of this exchange. It was clear that Styles threw Shane off his game, but McMahon tried to compose himself, and then he started to get some offense in. In fact, what surprised me, that his gimmick this year, Shane McMahon, from a daredevil, he suddenly transformed into a jiu-jitsu expert. He tried all of the MMA moves. If you thought his punching was bad, his MMA skills are really garbage. This match was just a traditional wrestling match. At least that's what Shane McMahon had in mind. So Shane tried his best to show off his grappling skills. The ending spot came when Shane McMahon went for a suicide dive to the outside, but AJ Styles rolled out of the way and then rolled Shane back in the ring. Styles went for a phenomenal forearm, but Shane turned it into a DDT and then went to the top rope for a shooting star press, surprisingly, but Styles rolled out of the way. Styles then followed up with a phenomenal forearm for the win. So this was that, and it was kind of sad for me because I've been a huge fan of AJ Styles' work for the longest time. I've loved him in TNA. I am a huge New Japan Pro Wrestling fan, so I've loved him on that show as well. You know, it was kind of sad that it turned out this way, but this guy can have a great match with the broom, and this time Shane McMahon also was not bad, you know, and I kind of enjoyed this match. What did you guys think? Let's start with you, Aditya.
Yeah, I think this was a really pleasant surprise for me. I didn't expect the match to go the way it did. When I first saw the WrestleMania set, the first thing that I was asking myself is, what is Shane McMahon going to jump off? And the only thing that I could see is that giant ring above the ring, and I thought like that's the last we're going to see of Shane McMahon like forever, because I thought he was just going to jump off that, but there was none of that stuff, and he actually did some decent mat wrestling for a while in the match. But yeah, I mean, I also have mixed feelings about this because I feel AJ Styles deserve to have like a better match or against a better opponent rather. But at the same time, I think in WWE, like, if you are made to work with a part-timer, that's pretty much a compliment for you. So I think it's AJ Styles should be proud that, you know, they want him to work with Shane McMahon, if that makes any sense. But I think that's how you should look at it, and that's how I'm looking at it right now. But yeah, I think this match was fairly decent.
So AJ Styles, like, put him in any match, put him in any event, be it a PPV, be it a SmackDown Live. He is the one who makes you watch those events. He is like the crowd turner or crowd pleaser over here. But and we all saw it coming, where you know, ever since we knew that AJ Styles is not going to be in a kind of a triple threat against Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, we knew that he's going to fight against Shane O'Mac. And the match, I thought AJ would have, the Styles would have an easy way out in this particular match. And but Shane, he started mat wrestling first of all, and he was, I didn't expect, first of all, Shane to try different varieties of aggressive attack-mindedness as he was doing throughout the match. AJ Styles was best in what he did, but I didn't like the way the match ended. I wanted this match to go for a long more time, and I just hope AJ Styles gets a better opponent the next time we are watching WrestleMania. Come on, this guy wrestled Jericho last year, and he's now wrestling Shane O'Mac, and I don't know, like, I just hope his career is not going downhill. I'm not saying just because for the sake of this match, but I don't, he's one of the amazing talents WWE has right now, and we don't want him to be a jobber, or we don't want him to be, fighting against part-timers like Shane O'Mac or someone else.
Like you said, I don't think he is. He's been relegated to a jobber for the stars, or he's been relegated to fighting these on and off feuds. I think that only one who could get a good match out of, like I said, a broom, it's AJ Styles, because by far I think he's the best in-ring performer in the world. I think he's that good, and I think this match had the ingredients of it being a complete garbage fire, like most Shane McMahon matches do. I mean, look at the match he had with The Undertaker last month. Shane McMahon can't have a good in-ring match without a lot of bells and whistles. And this guy actually brought it out of Shane O'Mac, and I'm pretty sure he was calling the match as well. So if it was anyone else, it had to be AJ Styles, and the match went on for as long as it had to. It didn't. I don't think it should have been extended, because then again you're asking a lot out of a performer who's been in the public eye for a long time, but he's never really been known for his in-ring skills. And speaking about in-ring skills, let's go and talk about two of his in-ring performers currently, and that's Chris and Kevin Owens for the US Championship. It's time for KO Mania 2, and this year's guest in KO Mania 2, of course, was Chris Jericho. The stakes were high, and the United States Championship was just a portion of the drama. This was one of the Wrestlemania. I thought this was the best feud till last week's SmackDown. Jericho, in fact, got a Y2J intro with a countdown start from 10 like he did in the old days, and the crowd was really pumped to see Chris in his blinking scarf that probably cost as much as a fucking car in India. I mean, there was also a giant list of Jericho on the stage, and that was really, really cool to see. There was a great spot when Owens went for a pop-up powerbomb, but Jericho turned it into a code breaker. Kevin Owens grabbed the bottom rope with his finger to stop the count, which was just a nice throwback just for the hardcores, which was a nice throwback to the Festival of Friendship spot. Owens then sat Jericho up on the outside and powerbombed him on the apron. He then threw Jericho in the ring and got a clean win, surprisingly, over Chris Jericho to capture the United States Championship at KO Mania 2.
The match, though personally didn't live to its billing, but it was something we all were looking forward on, how or whether Jericho will have his revenge against Kevin Owens. It was a good match, but again I would say I wouldn't give it a 5-on-5 because it just didn't live up to the expectations. I would still give it a 3-on-5. But especially added points to that finger touching the rope, which just recently made the list. And I actually thought that this would be one final match of Jericho before he takes a long absence from wrestling. But it seems it's not going to be that way. So let's hope the next match at Payback would be much entertaining as this was supposed to be.
Right, even I thought that the crowd was out of it as well, but they won back the crowd towards the end, and the finish was pretty decent. But this is the thing, right? Whenever you have two great wrestlers face off against each other, at times they click, and at times they don't. And for some reason, Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens did not click. It did not click earlier as well, and for some strange reason, it's not clicking. Probably Payback would be Chris Jericho's great send-off. I think he's taking extended leave after his contract runs off after Payback. So I would expect Kevin Owens to retain then as well. Next up, we have the Raw Women's Championship, and it was elimination 4-way. That was Bayley versus Charlotte, who strangely came out of Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks and Nia Jax. Bayley and Nia Jax were making the WrestleMania debuts in this elimination match. The only difference being that one was the champion, the other a challenger. Bayley walked to the ring first as a champion with her cape outstretched like Macho Man. She had the tube man which she has at ringside and received an amazing ovation. Nia Jax walked onto the ring. But then again, Sasha Banks got an amazing entrance and she got to ride down on the back of a boss car. Charlotte Flair came out in a robe and she looked how Ric Flair did all those years back. She basically turned back the clock. And the match started off and there were a lot of power moves from Nia Jax. And at one point they decided to team up after especially Nia threw Charlotte off the apron and used it like a weapon to take out Sasha and Bayley on the outside. Then all the three women, like I said, ganged up against Nia and they picked her apart to the best of their ability. But then again, Nia kicked out of an amazing, unique triple team suplex. And after that, all three members of the Four Horsemen hit Nia with a triple power bomb from the top, looking more like a female shield then the Four Horsemen, and then they pinned her to eliminate Jax first. The match was moving fast, and I felt some time may have been cut off from it, which affected the match a little bit. The next up to go was Banks, who was pinned by Flair, and thus, of course, eliminated. The finish of the match happened when Charlotte put Bayley in a 3 or 4. Charlotte actually climbed up and stomped on Bayley's knee. But then again, Bayley turned it around into a back body drop from the top rope, and Charlotte went plummeting to the mat. Bayley then delivered a gorgeous Macho Man elbow and a 1-2-3. Bayley wins, and as Bayley held up her belt in celebration, the tears welled up in her eyes. It was a well-deserved WrestleMania moment. The only thing which I did not like about this match, just imagine, guys, if this was Bayley's crowning moment. This was the time where she won the title. I just thought that giving away Charlotte's streak in the previous pay-per-view was such a waste of, it just robbed people of an amazing WrestleMania moment. Bayley, growing up a huge WWE fan, finally realizes a dream in front of a family, in front of 75,000 people at the grandest stage of them all. You just couldn't write it better, but then again, WWE writers are there for a reason.
First of all, I like the part where Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Charlotte teamed up together to throw off Nia Jax out of the competition. There was this a little moment where Charlotte tried to manipulate Sasha in teaming up against Bayley, but that didn't work out. I like the moves Charlotte, especially what she does. She did the moonsault from the rope outside the ring. It was really good, and it was really defying. What I didn't like was Sasha Banks, she gave up without a fight. I didn't see much of Sasha Banks throughout the whole match. Probably they are still playing around with the injury thing, what she went through against Nia Jax. But she could have stayed in this match for much longer time, from my opinion. And there wasn't, again, much fight between Charlotte and Bayley. I expected more of a fight from Charlotte, and it was I thought she would kick out when Bayley did the Macho Man elbow drop from the top ring. So, but it didn't work out that way, and you were absolutely right. There was, in case if Bayley hadn't won the championship in the previous PPV, this would have been an ultimate moment, which this WrestleMania doesn't boast of a lot of moments. And they could have, probably the creative team could group in together and do a bit more of work and analyze and how the viewers would want things to be, than being laid back on their approach and just writing things off, focusing on one PPV at one moment, then not looking at the big picture.
This ladder match has now become a fatal four-way.
I wonder who this fourth team could possibly be.
What? Oh, the thrill seeker! Todd! Bomb! Godspeed good from 20 feet above. Look, no. Hardy at the top of the ladder. The Hardy Boys are 7-time champions.
Next up, we have the Raw Tag Team Championship ladder match, the Club versus Enzo and Big Cass and Sheamus and Cesaro. And this became a ladder match very, very, very late on in the build-up of the pay-per-view. And once it became a ladder match, there was, fans in the know knew exactly what was going to happen. But then again, things normally don't work out in WWE as much as how you would want the fans to react to certain things. Before the match kicked off, the New Day made a huge announcement. When the New Day came on first, I thought they were going to inject themselves into the match. But then I announced that the match was going to become a fatal four-way, and they introduced the fourth team. I have never marked out as much as I marked out when the Hardy Boys came out. I just hit the music, and the entire 75,000 people in the Citrus Bowl just went insane, and they kept chanting delete, and it was so good to see. Jeff Hardy was not Brother Nero, but Broken Matt Hardy, guys. Oh my fucking God, I could not believe it. The delete chants were all there. Matt Hardy was doing came straight out of the Broken Universe. How did you guys react when the Hardy Boys came out? Let's start with Aditya.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the Jericho Owens match until the start of this match, I had been drifting in and out of sleep because I think it was like 5:30 in the morning at that point, and I'd been up for 3 hours. But the return of the Hardy Boys really woke me up. It was like an explosion of noise, and Michael Cole was freaking out. Everyone was freaking out. The crowd was going insane. And it was just an amazing moment. I mean, it's been, 8 years? I mean, I can't believe it's been that long since the Hardys have been in WWE. It makes me feel really old. But it's great to see them back where they belong. I actually didn't connect the dots when it became a ladder match. I mean, it seems so obvious now. But yeah, I mean, it didn't occur to me that that's what they were setting up. And as you said, even when New Day came out, it looked as if they were going to inject themselves in. So I think they teased that very nicely. But yeah, this was the first major WrestleMania moment of the night. One of the best comebacks in WWE history. It was a great moment, no doubt about it.
It was amazing, I'd marked out. And as both of you had said, like, I was actually thinking New Day is going to get in because they were not in their regular gears, but they were in such outfits which could, easily transform them inside the wrestling ring. When they mentioned that it's the Hardy Boys, it was amazing, though it was not the Broken Hardys, but it was nothing less than that. And to see them in a ladder match after a long, long time, it was worth it. It was really worth it.
What I loved about how the match started is Matt Hardy just walking up to Anderson and just doing the delete sign that we're going to fucking delete you right now. And the match, in fact, for me at least, was like a giant car wreck, the good ones. And that you just couldn't turn away from. And every team took advantage of the ladders and they used them as weapons, which is supposed to be the way a ladder match should work. Matt Hardy, let's get down to the finish. Matt Hardy hit Anderson with the twist of fate of the ladder, and then Jeff Hardy had a swanton bomb off a ladder, and he landed on Cesaro, who was in a ladder below. So this was an insane spot. I actually thought Cesaro was dead. And then Matt Hardy proceeded to climb the ladder, grab the belt, deleted the streak, and made the club obsolete and won the match. It was such an amazing match. At this point, this was the best match of the entire show. I absolutely loved everything about this match, right from how the club were in this match, because I'm a huge fan of the Bullet Club as well. I love these guys in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Enzo and Cass were also, they served a purpose. Sheamus and Cesaro, as always, were awesome. And one of the highlights for me, Twist of Fate off the ladder, was so gratifying to watch. And as normally he just yells out something, this time he just yelled delete, and he hit the Twist of Fate off the ladder, which for me personally, being a huge Broken Matt Hardy and Hardy Boys mark, for all my life, ever since the debut in the WWE, all those years back, for me it was very gratifying to watch. So, how do you guys think the match went, Aditya?
I agree with you. I think it was at that point the best match of the night. Probably one of the best matches on the card, or maybe even the best one. Probably. I have pretty much no complaints about this match. It hit all the right notes. And I loved the ending just like you, right? I mean, if there was any doubt whether these were the same Hardy Boys that were here, I mean, for people who haven't watched TNA either regularly or irregularly, this is the first time they're seeing the Hardy Boys since like 2009. So if they were wondering whether anything's changed, I think that swanton by Jeff Hardy from one ladder onto another should have assured that nothing has changed. So it was a really great moment for me.
So next up was John Cena and Nikki Bella versus The Miz and Maurice, and this was one of the best built-up matches in this WrestleMania season. And I thought personally that Miz did some of his best heel work, in fact some of his best work over the course of the past couple of months. Some of his promos were, almost shoot-like, and he spoke a lot of things which the internet wrestling community and wrestling insiders know about John Cena, but they don't speak about because John Cena is John Cena, right? But he did, and it worked to a great effect because it took a nothing feud and made it absolutely riveting, for the lack of a better word. And the match started with Miz coming up and hamming it completely for the crowd, and he got some excellent heat. And John Cena just stood there and let him just procrastinate and draw in the heat. And that is something I love about John Cena, because he just lets people have their moments before he comes in, because he knows exactly what his place is and what his role is. And he is I absolutely love the guy. So Miz, in fact, headlined WrestleMania, just to remind you, all you listeners out there, against John Cena before, and he looked like he was ready to put on another major performance in Orlando, but unfortunately, this was not the case. Miz did all he could to keep Cena down, and John Cena, in fact, sold Miz's offense really well. There were a lot of Mrs. Awesome chants. John Cena, as usual, got booed. At the end of the day, it was absolutely nothing. This match meant nothing. It was just a build-up to the next season of Total Divas, which will focus on John Cena and Nikki Bella's wedding. What did you guys think about this match?
Yeah, I think it was pretty much a nothing match. I think it was just, as you said, the match was just a formality for what was coming after. Because if John Cena was taken out of the originally planned match against The Undertaker and put in a mixed tag, there better be a good reason for Cena to take that bigger demotion on the card, and I think it was very obvious to all of us what that reason was when those rumors started coming in that he was going to propose to Nikki Bella, and that's exactly what ended up happening. But yeah, I think The Miz made that feud and the build much better than it had any right to be. So yeah, I mean, full props to The Miz on that. I think, as you said, I totally agree with you. He's done some of the best work of his career. I think probably the last time he was anything close to this good was in that same 2010-2011 year as well, when he was on fire. He was holding all the titles. He was Mr. Money in the Bank, and he was just really amazing in that year. And I think this year he finally got back up to that level after having been out in the wilderness for a few months. So I'm a huge Miz fan at the moment for sure.
Whatever matches that had a very good build-up, they failed to impact the audience. The matches fail to impact the audience in a bigger picture. For example, the AJ Styles and Shane McMahon match, it was built up in 2 weeks, but the match did come out good as expected. But let's look at this one. So Miz being Miz, he was giving wonderful promos the past 4 or 5 weeks, close to a month, and the same happened where there was this wonderful interaction between Miz and John Cena in Talking Miz, I believe, where John Cena did come up with the statement that you're not you're not the Undertaker, but if you press me hard, you'll be a dead man, and things like that. So it was really good. The promo was really good, but when looking into the match was such a bummer, especially when Maryse is not a complete professional wrestler, though she was part of the women's division and she did win, in case if I'm not wrong. She is not an out-and-out wrestler. She more like a part-timer these days. And also the engagement proposal was a bit off guard. It didn't give any, it is not a WrestleMania moment, but probably some of you guys might disagree with me. But on the whole, I didn't like the match, how it went. It was an open and shut case. I'm really interested in where does Miz go from here.
I kind of agree with your points about Maryse, and Aditya, I know you've been watching. You were watching this era better than, in fact, more than I was, because I kind of weaned out of WWE, especially during this era when Maryse was the champion. I don't think there were a lot of stellar women athletes there. There was much better women wrestling in different other companies. In fact, TNA with Gail Kim leading the line, they had much better wrestling at 2008, 2009.
Yep.
Than as compared to WWE. So yeah, Maryse was a champion when the best women wrestler back then, apart from Beth Phoenix, was fucking Kelly, someone who could not take a proper bump. And it just goes to show how far women's wrestling has come, especially in the spectrum, in the mainstream spectrum, that is the World Wrestling Entertainment Organization. And it's just a testament to the great work that is being done in the background by people like Sara Del Rey, who is the assistant head coach of NXT, and the amazing talent that is out there for, with the Four Horsewomen, and also the new people like Asuka and people like Ember Moon and people like that, great women wrestlers coming through the ranks, and that makes people like Maryse just bit players or just characters who are not very good wrestlers. They're just there. And that's why people like Eva Marie get a lot of shit.
And I think let's keep in mind that Asuka's been on NXT for more than a year now, right? I mean, she's overdue for like a main roster call-up, I think. So it's just going to get even better from now on.
Speaking about things which happened immediately after the John Cena and Nikki Bella and the Miz and the Maryse event, it was Seth Rollins versus Triple H, an unsanctioned match, a match which was built over 9 months. Well, this match, in fact, in my opinion, lived up to all the expectations that I had. To start the match, Triple H actually required a police escort to the ring as he rode on an amazing-looking three-wheeler to the ring with Stephanie McMahon perched on the back of it. As Triple H revved up the engine of his bike, Seth Rollins came out cosplaying a C-3PO. I don't really know what the fuck he was going for, but he actually looked like C-3PO from Star Wars. I love the how the match went. Triple H is a ring general. With Triple H, you know exactly what you're going to get. This was a slow burn of a match which built down to a crescendo. This is something which Triple H does really well. There were some beautiful transitions, like when Rollins tried to pull off a springboard move, but Triple H grabbed Rollins' knee. He tried to mount some offense, but Rollins turned it back around for himself, Seth hit back, 2 back-to-back suicide dives on Triple H as well. So this had some great wrestling going on. You know, there was this very cool transition where Seth Rollins tried to hit the pedigree on Triple H and Triple H reversed that into a pedigree of his own, and then Seth changed that to hit a pedigree on Triple H, and there was an interference in between. So this was a great transition. This was some amazing wrestling to view. To finish off the match, there were some amazing counters, and Seth almost pulled off a pedigree. Then Rollins' knee gave away, which was the entire story of the match, that his knee was not 100%, but I don't really think that he sold it really well, but it was what it was. His knee gave out and he went down to the mat. Then Stephanie got involved and Triple H accidentally put her through the table when Seth moved out of the way. Seth Rollins then caught Triple H with the pedigree and scored a win over the game. And this, in fact, ties Triple H with the highest number of losses in WrestleMania. There was no Samoa Joe run-in as we had expected. There was no Finn Balor return as we had expected. There was just a standard anything-goes match with the dastardly heel manager, Stephanie McMahon, going through a table. But it was still great. I absolutely love this match. Vinod, let's start with you. What did you think of this match?
The match was, I wouldn't say the match was the best of this WrestleMania, but it was really good. And exactly, I agree to Abhishek's points that Rollins didn't sell his knee injury pretty well. But the in-ring work of Seth Rollins is really good, though he's been accused of triggering injuries into his opponents, but his in-ring work is really good, and Triple H did do his work to put Rollins over. And the spot of Stephanie falling over the table, it was just like last year's when she came across Roman Reigns' spear. So that was a bit predictable, but that's what I would say. The match was good, but it could have been better.
Yeah, I think I agree probably more with Vinod on this one. Like I was pretty tired by the time this match started. I think it was probably hour 5 or something of the 7-hour marathon. I think the crowd was pretty tired at the beginning and it showed, and they sort of picked up towards the end. I think the match got better towards the end when they got into those series of transitions and counters that Abhishek was referring to. So I think the ending of this match was fine, but it felt a little flat to me for the initial stages, especially considering how long this match had been built and considering the 2 people involved. I sort of expected more. And I think Triple H held up his end, but I think you would clearly see that Rollins wasn't fully himself. You know, both of you mentioned he wasn't selling the knee as well as he would normally have done. And probably it's because he wasn't 100% fit, and also he was wrestling with a 103-degree fever apparently. Like he had the flu throughout WrestleMania week, so that also obviously affected him. And I mean, full respect to him for wrestling with the flu. I mean, I had a fever like 2 weeks ago and I could like barely move. But yeah, so I think like fine match, decent match. Not my favorite match of the night. But I did love the entrance. I think Triple H has been having the best entrances over the last few years. It's like, you know, literally Sasur J ke paise hain. So he should be having those. But for me, like the main issue with Triple H's matches has become, Abhishek, what you were saying, which is like, you know, he always loses. Like he's pretty much now become a jobber, like which who would have thought he would ever say this about Triple H. So that kind of unpredictability out of Triple H's matches has gone away, because you just know that he's going to like job to whomever is facing. I mean, who would have thought that we would say that about Triple H?
Dude, I think he gets a really bad rap, man. I honestly, that there's this a misconception that Triple H, see, I'm a huge Triple H mark, okay, despite all of his backstage politicking and all of that nonsense. I'm a huge Triple H mark, always have been. So I don't really understand. I don't really buy into the things that he doesn't put people over, because he has put a lot of these stars over. He's put over John Cena. He's put Batista over. He's put Sheamus over. Most of these people you see on screen right now, the people who you cheer for, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, you name all your favorites, Triple H has put them over at some point or the other. Yes, he inserts himself to the storylines. Yes, he has a giant ego. But you need that, right? That is what makes someone someone a little bit larger than life, and I think Triple H is one of the last dying breed of that kind of persona.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you. I don't think the reputation of him like not putting over is justified anymore. Like maybe 15 years ago you could have made that argument at some point, but like clearly since then, I mean, he's just been all about putting people over and creating stars. And in fact, you could, even if you wanted to make the argument the opposite way, that he's not putting himself over enough, and that he needs to do that like once in a while to still have that impact when he puts other people over.
No, I think this has to do with the fact that he also has a lot of creative control now. Because he himself understands the wrestling business much better than Kevin Dunn or even, dare I say, Vince McMahon does. Because look at the way NXT has been booked.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the way SmackDown has been booked over the past year, because he has Road Dogg as the head booker for SmackDown, someone who is, you might say, Triple H's right-hand man. So these two brands have been booked in a very similar way. They have very simple storylines. They don't fuck around. They don't have overly complicated plot lines like much of the Raw storylines do. And they're very simple to the point, and they stick to very good wrestling, something which Triple H really admires, something which Triple H really, something which he really promotes, something which he really believes in. So I think these things come across as someone who's very traditional in the way wrestling booking should be done.
Triple H, though he has this huge ego, but looking at his character, especially through what we know is by looking on screen, especially when he is not inside the WWE ring, when he's at the creative head, especially when you look into some episodes from WWE 24 on how he goes beyond his way to make the wrestlers feel better and to make sure the wrestlers are, comfortable in their own personal life. It's really, it actually brings up a contradiction when we take Triple H stance to what we had heard from CM Punk in his podcast. So that's a very thin line where we really don't know whether it's a work or it's a shoot. So that's props to Triple H that he's coming over like at this time of his age. He's trying to put talents over. He's making them work. Props to Triple H for that.
You had to bring up the fucking CM Punk podcast again.
I think we should keep one we have to keep one separate podcast just to discuss about that, because we have
that ship
from
has
him.
sailed, my friend. That ship has fucking sailed. That was like 2 years ago, and I really didn't want to talk CM Punk because that guy has blocked me on Twitter, as you guys know. Because I kept asking random questions. Yeah, I kept asking random questions. Yeah. Aditya knows about this. I actually screenshotted him. The thing. So this guy, Aditya, in fact, attended a WrestleMania. So he texted me the fact that he was going to a WrestleMania. I marked out. Okay, the fact that he was going to a WrestleMania, I fucking marked out. And then I WhatsApped him the fact that CM Punk actually had blocked me. So yeah, so that is kind of an achievement which I hold really close to my heart. So talking about things which I will not hold close to my heart is Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt for the WWE Championship. Guys, what the fuck is going on with this feud? I'll give this to Bray Wyatt. Okay, he came out in the most epic entrance that he has ever had. If you thought his entrance last year was great, this year was off the hook. The entire Citrus Bowl looked like it was a giant. He had his fucking fireflies all over the place. It looked fucking great. But the match was exactly opposite to what the entrance was. This match was by far one of the worst matches I've ever watched over the past 5 years. This was a garbage fire. This did not make sense. There were so many things going on in this match. They tried to put in so much of supernatural bullshit in this match that none of this made sense. I don't understand where this feud is going. And this feud is continuing, by the way. In fact, Randy Orton won the championship from Bray Wyatt, and he was booked like a heel. And he was supposed to be the face. It did not make any sense. And there were no Wyatt members involved. I mean, Luke Harper was not there. Eric Rowan is, of course, out. this feud started off in a very promising way and it went absolutely nowhere. This was one of the worst performances by Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt, two people who I think are really, really good in the ring, and this was a complete disappointment. What did you guys think?
So I may be in the minority here on the supernatural bullshit part, but I actually enjoyed that weird stuff that they did with putting like pictures of maggots and cockroaches and worms and God knows what on the ring, because that's something that we'd never seen before, right? At least I've never seen it before. So I like that, but that's the only thing I liked in this match. I mean, as you said, it made no sense, right? If you're going to do all that supernatural stuff, I mean, it should add up to like Bray Wyatt winning in my mind. Like just Randy Orton winning on top of all that just made no sense at all to me. And I think like Bray Wyatt has been like one of the worst booked people in WWE, if not the worst, over the last 2 or 3 years, because like all his feuds are literally the same, right? Like he'll attack somebody out of nowhere and then he'll talk, some creepy, ominous stuff for a few weeks, but then he ends up losing the match. So I think like he's just going nowhere as a character. I mean, he's an amazing performer, but I just can't get behind that Bray Wyatt character, and I think this match was like a huge disappointment for me also.
Yeah, I don't really understand where this character is going. I thought, this character of Bray Wyatt would build up towards a feud with The Undertaker, because supernatural meets supernatural, right? Or, he just goes on to lose every crucial match that there is. I mean, he lost the match against Cena, he lost the match against Ambrose, he lost every major feud that he's been in. So it doesn't really, there is a time where every wrestling fan will actually just push away from the character, and I think that moment has already come and has already passed. So I don't really understand where this character is going. I completely agree with you. Vinod, what are your thoughts on Bray Wyatt and his booking and this match, in fact?
So I guess Bray Wyatt is gunning for the record of Triple H of most WrestleMania losses. He lost against Cena, he lost against Taker. There was a match where Taker could have easily put him over and he could have become the new face of fear, as they advertise Wyatt all throughout the WWE. Now, let's talk about the match. The intro of Bray Wyatt was amazing. The crowd synced with him as they usually do. And I don't understand what was this big CGI snake or viper that was going around when Randy Orton was walking down the ramp. That was really yeah, that was really bad. That was like worst CGI ever. And the other thing, I really agree. I would say that this the CGI is what they brought inside the ring. I would agree. I would agree with Malia that it was not a bore. It was really good. He was trying to play mind games with Orton, but that didn't come out very well as they would have planned, because they wanted us, the TV viewers, to show the CGI maggots and all those roaches, but at that point of time we hardly saw what was happening in the ring because the angle was from top. So it didn't come out to the way they actually planned. The match was really bad. I wanted this match to get over. It was that bad. But again, I completely agree with Abhishek on where on earth is the creative team taking this particular character up. He is losing against lunatics. He is losing against Superman. I think he hasn't won anything credible, and finally they gave him a title shot and they made him lose so quickly and so easily. This is a match I would love to forget.
This feud is going nowhere, and from the looks of what will happen in SmackDown, that we will discuss a little bit later on in the show, they are booked towards something which may or may not have a very good payoff.
They're looking for 10 here in Orlando. They're going to get it. 10 Germans to Goldberg, and Lesnar's in his element. The sword of Damocles is at the back of the neck of Goldberg, and everyone here in the Citrus Bowl can feel it. And a beast with Goldberg up on his shoulders. Goldberg got out of it once. F5. Cover. Hooks the leg. Brock Lesnar is the new Universal Champion.
one match for me personally, which had a huge payoff, was Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. I absolutely loved this match. I just cannot put it in words how much I absolutely adored this match. Goldberg, in fact, returned to WWE in 2016 at the fag end of 2016. And he had one heck of a run so far. He was good on the mic with the exception of one time when he just hit himself over the head while he was coming out and knocked himself loopy. But apart from that, I've never been a Goldberg fan. Even growing up, I just thought he was, I don't know, I just didn't connect with the guy. But this time, I thought he had an amazing run. He destroyed Brock Lesnar in the first match. And he went on to compete in the Royal Rumble, and he had a very strong showing in the Royal Rumble as well. He, of course, didn't win it, but he won the Universal title at Fastlane from my boy, Kevin Owens. The match started, and Brock, in fact, wasted no time taking Goldberg to Suplex City as he hit 3 German suplexes, but Goldberg, as he normally does, did not sell, and he countered with a spear, and then another spear which rocked Brock, and Brock rolled out of the ring. Goldberg then again speared Brock Lesnar through the barricade, and the crowd went insane and started to chant for Goldberg as a portion of the audience kept on booing. So it was a very mixed reaction for Goldberg. Goldberg then set up Brock for the jackhammer, but Brock countered that for the F5. But Goldberg got out and speared Brock again. Brock got hit with the jackhammer, but he kicked out. Then Brock hit 10 German suplexes. Fucking 10. He was taken to Suplex City, given the entire view, and then hit the F5 for the win. This match went on for less than 5 minutes. It was brutal. 4 moves were just used in this match. A spear, suplex, jackhammer, F5. This was perfection when it comes to booking. It couldn't have been booked any better. What did you guys think about this fight?
Yeah, no, I was surprised to find how much I liked this match. Same, pretty much echo your thoughts, Abhishek. But my favorite move out of these, all of these, was that leap by Brock Lesnar to avoid that spear. That was pretty insane. I mean, he had to time that very well, and I mean, it was pretty much all on Brock Lesnar because Goldberg's not known to be somebody who can, be trusted for his timing in the ring. But I think like Brock Lesnar timed that really well, and it was really freakish to see how high and how quickly he reacted and jumped when Goldberg tried to hit him with that 5th spear. But yeah, I mean, I really like this match. I mean, so much for psychology, as you said, Abhishek, right? Like it's, they pretty much just scripted the match with 4 moves and just stuck to that script, and yeah, it worked.
Because that's all you can expect from someone who is as limited as Goldberg, and someone who is supposed to be an NCAA champion, someone who has fought in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, someone who is supposed to be a vaunted wrestler. That guy, he just uses a couple of moves. He uses suplex, 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 F5, 1, 2, 3, done. I don't know why he is being booked this way, but I love that he's being booked this way. Brock Lesnar is supposed to be a destroyer, and he's being booked as a destroyer. He just fucks people up for a living, and I love it. You know, he's just supposed to be an ass kicker, and I wish he was booked a little bit better earlier, but I have no complaints from this match. Raman, go on.
This was by far the second best match of this whole event. The match was really was for a short duration. Brock Lesnar came up and exactly he did what he does. But what amazed me was the way Goldberg got up after those 3 suplexes in the initial stages. He got up so quick. I was actually wondering whether this might be another upset, but then the real match started when Brock ducked. Not ducked. He jumped up and he avoided Goldberg, and then it was amazing. The crowd was really into this match, but right now I hope they don't advertise the Universal Championship and shove it into someone's hands, you know whom I'm talking about. So on the whole, the match was really good. I enjoyed it, and it was booked perfectly. They couldn't have done anything better than this.
From things which were done extremely well to things which were done extremely bad, let's go and talk about the penultimate match of this year's WrestleMania. Let's talk about SmackDown's Women's Championship. Alexa Bliss versus every available woman on SmackDown roster. This match was horrible. This is easily the worst match of the night, and there were botches all around, and I felt some time was, in fact, a lot of time was cut out from this match, which did not allow any of the women to start out their stuff. This match absolutely sucked. There were botches, there were failed moves, and there were, I have nothing else to say about this match. This match was absolutely nothing. I actually don't have anything. I'm drawing a blank, dude.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, you know what I did? Like I had to go. By this point, it was like what 8:30 a.m. or something, right, in the Indian Standard Time. So I decided that this was a match when I would like go for a shower and get ready because I had to go to office after the main event. So I pretty much just gave this match a miss, and I don't think I missed anything big.
You didn't miss anything because you didn't miss anything because Naomi eventually won the title and she held Alexa Bliss in a very weird-looking anaconda vice. And she tapped out, and that's about it. And Naomi won the title, which was a pretty cool break from this WWE tradition which they have, where the hometown hero, they always end up losing. But in this case, Naomi ended up winning in her hometown of Orlando. But that's about it. I think there's a severe depth of talent. There are great characters, great women characters in SmackDown, but I think there is a severe dearth of talent when it comes to in-ring.
It was like a whole episode of Wrestlemania can be made from this particular match. Talia she couldn't lock a sharpshooter properly, and it was really bad, and I didn't like the way Becky looked, so that's a minus there itself. And with all those dreadlocks and all, I don't know what she was trying to do. And but giving Naomi the championship was really good. She's come up from the bottom, and she did have better response from the crowd as compared to every other one. The WWE has broken their jinx of letting the hometown heroes or hometown superstars lose. It's probably the worst match of the whole event. And Malia, you didn't miss anything, trust me.
Yeah, but there were all these rumors before that WWE was reaching out to these women wrestlers from the past. Like they reached out to Kelly and Maria Kanellis and Trish Stratus and Lita and Molly Holly and all those people and Victoria. So there were these rumors that Alexa Bliss against every available woman was going to be some sort of like gimmick match, maybe like a gauntlet match or a battle royal or something where all these women from the past would make cameo appearances. I think that would have been really cool. I wonder what happened to that idea.
WWE doesn't really do well when it comes to booking women in gimmick matches. The one which sticks out to my mind is the WrestleMania 25 match where it was supposed to be a women's battle royal. Remember how that piece of shit turned out? Oh my fucking god! Santino Marella ended up as a winner of a match which was supposed to showcase the women of the WWE.
Come on, it wasn't Santino, it was Santina.
Santina Marella, yeah. I wouldn't trust whoever is booking these matches with any gauntlet matches or any battle royals where it involves women and with anything. These guys can turn gold into garbage. So it is what it is. And yeah, I'm really happy for Naomi. She's someone who has been in the system for a while. She used to be one of the Funkadactyls. Remember those people? She used to be one of the Funkadactyls, and from there to become the SmackDown's Women's Champion is feat in itself, and I hope long may her reign continue. And speaking about long reigns, let's speak about the main event of the evening.
Nice segue.
And speaking about, let's talk about the main event. It was The Undertaker versus Roman Reigns in a no-hold-barred match. A no-hold-barred match which was announced on Facebook. And before the match started, the New Day came out to announce that this year's WrestleMania had broken the previous Citrus Bowl attendance with 75,000 people. At least I wonder how much of that number will be disputed on, because WWE that kind of tends to do that. But then Roman Reigns and The Undertaker headlined WrestleMania this year, and in my opinion, they did not disappoint. This match, despite a few critics here and there, kind of lived up to the expectations. And this was undoubtedly one of the most highly anticipated matches, at least for me, on this year's WrestleMania card. And everyone was talking about it because it was rumored, which is kind of true, that this match with Roman Reigns could be The Undertaker's last. And before the match kicked off, barring the Hardys, the biggest response from this crowd was reserved for Jim Ross, who made his way to the commentary table to call the action. This was, I actually got very emotional when I saw Jim Ross. He is, bar none, the greatest wrestling announcer who has ever lived. People talk about Gordon Soley. Some of the older fans talk about Gordon Soley. I've never heard him call matches in my lifetime. So Jim Ross for me is the be-all, end-all when it comes to wrestling commentary. And as soon as Roman's music hit, obviously you know what would happen. The crowd erupted in a series of boos, and WWE in fact had to go and mute out the mics. Yes, fucking carnies. They had to do that in the grandest stage of them all. Like we did not know. We are like fucking fools, right? So the entire crowd was booing Roman Reigns, and he didn't seem phased out. Credit to Roman Reigns. That guy just like is made of stone, right, at this point. And then the Undertaker's music hit, but Undertaker, as we dreaded, did not walk down the 80 feet ramp. He was transported, and he came out from the bottom and just in front of the ring. It was just as epic as you would expect. But this match was, yeah, it had very good moments. It was very emotional at times, but yeah, it was what it was. And it was sad for a long-term Undertaker fan to watch this, because you could see your hero failing. You could see that this was not the Undertaker from, say, 7 years ago. This was not the Undertaker from, say, 5 years ago. This was an Undertaker who looked old. And this was a gimmick which has gone on for a couple of years too much. He should have retired after the match with Lesnar, and which was not a very good match to start with. And this match, for what it was great. I mean, I loved Roman Reigns' performance in this match. He practically carried a legend in this match, and this just goes to show how far Roman Reigns has come in his WWE career. But apart from that, it was what it was, and Undertaker actually took a loss after taking something called as a bullshit super spear. And and Undertaker actually took a bow, and this was his last match, and what a way to go out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. It's just, I still haven't processed it fully yet. I mean, like, he's the Undertaker, right? Like, the match to me, I agree with you, was like a pretty good match. I think it had some good moments with the near falls, and I think Roman Reigns also did really well in this match with his reactions to Undertaker kicking out and stuff. So I like the match, but for me, it's the match is of course completely overshadowed by what happened next, right? When the Undertaker took his gloves out and he laid them in the center of the ring, and he took off his coat and then his hat, and then, as you said, it looks like he's gone now. And like, how do you deal with the Undertaker not being in there, right? Like, even though, as you said, he hasn't really been himself the last couple of years, it's obvious that he's in pain and he can no longer really do this, and he looks old. But still, I mean, like, he's been there since 1990. Like, he's literally been wrestling since before. Yeah, like I think he started in '84. Like, so that's before like most of us were born. Before all of us were born, in fact. So it's like, it's just like, it is literally the end of an era. I mean, there won't ever be anybody like that ever again.
Whenever WWE decides to address that the Undertaker is gone, his retirement would be, and he would be touted as the legend of legends. I mean, there are a very select few who get up to the echelon at where Undertaker is. I mean, you can name it in your, on the tip of your fingers. You have Stone Cold Steve Austin, you have Ric Flair, you have Shawn Michaels, and you have Undertaker. There's no one else. And apart from Triple H, I don't think there will be anyone else, at least in this current generation yet. This was just an end of an era. Some people dispute that it shouldn't have been against Roman Reigns, but he did, as an old school guy, he did exactly what an old school guy is supposed to do. This guy, you have to understand that this guy's steeped in tradition. He is a company man. He thought he owed something to the companies. That's why he stuck around for this long. He put a guy who is at the cusp of becoming a superstar, at the cusp of becoming the next big guy in the company, and he put over that guy. And there's nothing to complain. You know exactly where Roman Reigns is positioned in this company. Apart from John Cena, who is, of course, a part-timer at this point, there's no one else who warranted this position apart from Roman Reigns. So I have no complaints that Roman Reigns was actually booked in this match against The Undertaker.
First of all, I was really pissed because as the majority, everyone of us thought, like, why is this guy losing to Roman Reigns? We had ample discussions on this, and we all agreed that it should be actually John Cena who would be fighting him or wrestling him in his last match. And we all knew the moment Undertaker loses this match, that would be the end of him. The moment he lost it, it started sinking in, okay, it seems like this is going to be his last match, and I don't think so he's going to wrestle again. I'd never hated Roman Reigns, but I was kind of taken against by the way he was being shoved. Like, he is getting title matches after title matches. He is wrestling all the big guys. He was bad on the mic. He hasn't been talking recently. He's been talking much recently. But we fail to understand what did Vince saw in him that he is being pushed so much. And because of that force feeding of Roman Reigns into us, we started having a negative opinion of this particular person. But when I sit back and think right now, that what they have done is actually the best for business. And we did have discussions about this, Abhishek, that this guy, Roman Reigns, is right now leading on merch sales. And with John Cena going away, there is no one else who could single-handedly, I won't say single-handedly, there is no one else who could propel up the sales of merchandise. And I've been to a main event like a couple of years ago when everybody used to hate Roman Reigns at that point of time. And I didn't have any, sore feelings towards him. But when you look into the crowd, there is actually a 50-50 ratio of people hating and people loving him. There's been a lot of chats going around where, people don't like him, he's really bad and stuff like that. But on the other hand, people do like him. We have, in our country, we have a special WWE Roman Reigns India fan club. Do you know that? And people are, posting support messages over him. So probably we have been brought up in such a era where we cannot digest a guy like Roman Reigns being pushed on our throats. But if we look at the big picture, we are not the only guys who's following WWE right now. There are other generations too. Probably he is attractive to them. Probably they like them. Probably they can relate to him. That's the main reason why probably I can say that this is actually the best thing for business. And if not for John Cena and Roman Reigns, I don't know who could have given him a better retirement match. I wouldn't say better retirement match. Who would have given him a retirement match? They could have done that with Brock Lesnar a couple of years ago. They could have done that by putting over Wyatt 2 years ago. They didn't. So I don't even remember. Did Undertaker fight last year? I don't remember what happened last year. Was that against Brock?
Shane McMahon.
Oh yes, that was again. That was again a crappy match. So
he's got my syndrome. Remember when I completely blocked out WrestleMania 2032 out of my system? I had completely blocked out WrestleMania. It didn't exist for me. So Aditya and I were having this conversation, and I was like, "Yeah, what happened last year?" We were talking about Roman Reigns, and he was like, "Dude, he fought Triple H last year for the title." Aditya texted, "Okay," and I was like, "He did?" And he was like, "Dude, are you telling me right now that you completely blocked out that entire event?" I was like, "Kind of, yes," because last year the event sucked. Okay, this is like it's the worst event ever, and which brings me to this event. All being said and done, and all all matches, everything aside, how would you rate this event?
So for me, I think I would give it a 6 out of 10 probably, or at most a 7. I think it was definitely better than last year. Not as good as 31, and definitely nowhere close to be as good as 30, which is I think one of the best WrestleManias in recent years.
Yeah, I would have given a 6 too, because especially for the Hardys' return, for Undertaker's last match, and a couple of matches that were really, really good, I would have given a 6.
And for me personally, I would give it a solid 7.5, probably because most of these matches, in fact all of these matches with the exception of 2, all of them lived up, in fact exceeded expectations. So just for that reason alone, and for the Hardys making their long-awaited return home, this easily warrants a 7.5. And next up, right after this musical break, we would be talking about Raw and SmackDown. So stay tuned for that. And just for all you listeners out there, you guys can subscribe to this channel. We are Indian Nerve, and we generally talking about films and TV shows since we are such huge wrestling fans. And this is something which is huge in pop culture nowadays. We try to talk about WrestleMania, and we will try to bring shows like this, special shows like this, to you more often than not. And you guys can subscribe to our channel at www.youtube.com/IndianNerve. Subscribe to your channel, share and like this video, and we'll be back shortly.
This is the Film Geeks Podcast.
From my generation, I'll take the let's get it on. The money, we're in this together and do it all. They said that nothing's forever, and they refuse to see the change in me. Why won't they wake up?
So welcome back, and it's about time we talk about Raw and Smackdown for this week, this huge week that has been in wrestling. And normally this week actually ends with the culmination of Raw, but this year, with the development of Smackdown as a live show, it has extended to 5 days of huge wrestling events. And let's start off with Monday, which was Raw. And the first big talking point was Kurt Angle returning as the general manager of WWE Raw. Vince McMahon, in fact, came out and said that Triple H and Stephanie McMahon are taking an extended hiatus. He obviously needed someone to run the show, and with Mick Foley being out of the WWE, the only person that made sense was Kurt Angle. It was rumored for quite a while, and this was something which all WWE fans were looking forward to. Kurt Angle debuted as the general manager for WWE Raw. The second thing which he announced was the WWE shakeup. Something which we have very little information about that will be revealed in the weeks to come. In fact, next week will be the WWE Shake-Up. Finn Balor returned in the main event in a tag team match. We're teamed up with Seth Rollins to face the team of Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe. So that was a huge return. He made his return after almost 9 months being out of action. The shoulder injury. Roman Reigns, he came out and started off the show, in fact. And let's just talk about that, guys. Roman Reigns came out to a chorus of boos, a boos which lasted 15 minutes easily. He just came out, stood there and said, "This is my yard now. I probably can be a huge heel, but we got no answers on this edition of Raw. Probably next week will be the best way to gauge where the Roman Reigns character is going."
So Roman Reigns handled the boost like no one else could handle, Normally, if someone else, if some other personality is booed, they would have talked back, or they would have give that snarky comment like how Stephanie responded to CM Punk chants a couple of months ago. But this guy, he was actually playing around the crowd, like he was bringing the mic close to his mouth, and then he stops, and then after a while he was playing. But I kind of feel bad for him, but that's what it's supposed to be. He is the heel now, and he has to go through these things. But he took it up like a boss, and also I guess he also tweeted something regarding that, which was also a very good way on how he approached this particular segment on Raw this past week.
Yeah, I'll read that out for you. And what he tweeted out was, "The loudest segment of the show, maybe the loudest of the past 2 decades, and I could just stood there for another 15 minutes. Hashtag the guy, hashtag Raw After Mania." You understand that easily this character is going towards, a heel trajectory.
I think this would be one of the biggest missed opportunities in wrestling history if they don't turn Roman Reigns heel now, because just those first 15 minutes of Raw were just so electric, and I think he's becoming very comfortable with absorbing that abuse from the crowd, and he's starting to even savor it and play around with it, as Vinod was saying. I think it's just a huge opportunity, because I think he could be. If you remember when he came in as the Shield, I think all of us were instantly Roman Reigns fans, because he was this, silent, no-nonsense, badass heel character, who was this unstoppable kind of guy that they portrayed. And I think he could become like this monster heel, like a Brock Lesnar who sort of wrestles on a regular basis, obviously with not that level of skill or that level of beastiness, but they could easily build him up into like this huge monster heel. And I think WWE has always had this model in the last decade, 2 decades of like having one top babyface and having other like minor heels keep chasing him. But I think it would be interesting for them to try the opposite model with like Roman Reigns. It's like have like a monster heel for the next 5 or 6 years, and then when he gets taken down, eventually it's going to be huge. I think it's like a very exciting time if they choose to do it. I don't know whether they will do it, because I just remember listening to this podcast of this ex-WWE writer recently, in which he revealed that John Cena heel turn was actually almost done, like I think a few years ago. But I think Vince chickened out at the last minute because of the merch sales, because he was afraid that he would lose out on the merchandise sales. So I don't know whether Vince McMahon is going to go through with it. I mean, my gut says no, unfortunately, but I would just love for that to happen.
If you look back in the Attitude Era, like most hardened wrestling fans who grew up watching wrestling do, one guy who had a similar run was this little-known wrestler called Dwayne Johnson, as most wrestling fans know him as The Rock. He was pushed down people's throat for a couple of years, and no one bought whatever he was selling. And he went to Jim Ross and said, please turn me heel. And they actually turned him heel, and look where The Rock is now. He is someone who has legitimately transitioned from a professional wrestler to one of the biggest, in fact, the biggest movie star of our times. It's all there. It's all up to the WWE to actually make it work. And one final thing in Raw which worked is my current favorite tag team in all of wrestling. I watch a lot of different products, but these guys are my favorite tag team in all of these promotions is the Revival. These guys are I'm a huge old school wrestling fan. I love Mid-South Wrestling. I love the old school NWA. A couple of guys who have actually tapped into that are the Revival from NXT, and they made their debut on this edition of Raw, and I absolutely marked out. This was markout city for me. What did you guys think of the Revival's debut?
The tag team was like revitalized overnight with the Hardy Boys and now the Revival. I think I probably haven't watched as much of NXT as you, Abhishek, but in the little that I watched, I have enjoyed what I've seen of the Revival's work. So it's definitely going to be a fun time on the tag team scene on Raw.
I haven't been an avid follower of the Revival. So for me, they are more like a new face in WWE. They wanted to instill a whiff of fresh air, into the Raw roster now that they have crammed up with lots of tag teams in and out with Cesaro and Sheamus. We got the New Day, we got the Team Extreme, we got Enzo and Cass, we and the club, and now we have this Revival joining in. So it would be good to see how they build Revival into one of the as per what you had said, that they are one of the tag teams we have to watch out for. But I just hope they are not booked anything like Victor and Connor from the Ascension, like they are nowhere now, or something like Vaudevillains, where Simon Koch has been recently released. So I just hope, making them move to the Raw roster or to the main roster of WWE is not a kick in the balls for them. So that's what I hope. But of course, I'm willing to look forward on what they can bring into the stable.
No, I think they will not be booked like the Ascension was, or like how the Vaudevillains were. The simple reason being that these guys are extremely good in ring. Scott Dawson has been around for a long, long time in NXT, and so has Dash Wilder, and they were known as the Mechanics earlier, and they changed it into Revival, and they started wrestling in a very old school way of wrestling. If you go and watch some of the very old tapes from the way the Horsemen wrestled. In fact, the entire wrestling style is built on the way Arn Anderson and Ole Anderson actually wrestled. If you go back and watch some of those tapes, you would see a lot of, even the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, the way they wrestled as heels, this is the way they have modeled themselves on. And this is something which is refreshing at this point, because no other tag team, some of the great tag teams currently in professional wrestling are teams like Red Dragon with Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, and you have Young Bucks with Matt and Nick Jackson, and then you have the Briscoe brothers. But no one comes close to the Revival because they wrestle in a style which has been long forgotten. So I think just because of that novelty and just because they do it so well, they will be insanely over with the crowd. So let's talk about SmackDown, the very next night, the final night of the WrestleMania weekend. And we talk about the highlights. I'll just give you a rundown of the 5 biggest highlights of that night. And the first, of course, was The Miz and his segment. And I honestly think that Miz deserves a title shot. And obviously, AJ Styles, who turned face, he came out with a shiner and he confronted Shane McMahon. And I would really hate it with the shake-up coming up that if AJ Styles actually moved on from SmackDown, because even I believe, like he said, that SmackDown is a house that AJ Styles has built over the past year. And I would really hate it if he is drafted onto Raw, because yes, he definitely needs a little bit of a facelift, but he belongs on SmackDown. I really hope that he is not taken away from SmackDown. Ty Dillinger, in fact, debuted as well from NXT, as is the tradition every year now over the past couple of years, that a couple of talents from NXT come up. So on this time on SmackDown, Ty Dillinger debuted. In fact, 10 years being in development in WWE, Title Ninja finally made his debut in the main roster, which was for a guy who's been following his career. This was really heartening, and it was really gratifying for me to see someone like Title Ninja make his debut on main roster. And like most of the people on the internet, I'm also bored of Orton's title reign. And finally, but not the last, I marked out huge when Shinsuke Nakamura debuted. All right, I absolutely loved it. He went on and interrupted Miz. I don't think this is a feud which is going to happen, but if it does, I'm not going to be complaining. But Shinsuke Nakamura, the king of strong style, the legend of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it was surreal for me to watch a guy who I've watched in the Indies, who I've watched in New Japan Pro Wrestling, make his debut in the biggest wrestling company in the world. What did you guys think of this edition of SmackDown?
I liked it. I mean, for me, it was all about Nakamura. I think that was just such an electrifying entrance. I think he's got one of the best entrances and one of the best entrance songs in WWE at the moment. And just seeing how the way the crowd responded, right, was just amazing. And there have been videos on YouTube of people continuing to sing that song in the streets of Orlando as they went back home and stuff like that. So it was pretty much reminiscent of the Fandango craze, but of course much cooler. And I can't wait to see what Nakamura does on SmackDown. I think he himself last week or a week before that there was an interview, and he said that he would prefer to go to SmackDown because they have like AJ Styles, John Cena and Randy Orton, and that he would like to do so many dream matches with those three guys and other guys on the roster. So I hope we get those three matches at the very least, and maybe even more if what you say, Abhishek, as you say, if Brock Lesnar is moved to SmackDown, which also I suspect might happen, or if Roman Reigns is moved to SmackDown, which has also been hinted at a couple of times. I think we could get some really amazing matches which Nakamura over the next year.
Something that we should all pay attention to is Eric Rowan is back. Yay! I guess I'm the only guy who's excited about that. Hey, he's been off for quite a long time, and now he's back all of a sudden, tagging along with Bray Wyatt, the real brother of Bray Wyatt, as they say. So this week's SmackDown was okayish. I didn't find anything endearing, especially after they thrusted, a mid-segment, Nakamura's interference, I wouldn't call it, or Tal Dillinger's much-awaited debut. It was really, really good to see Tal Dillinger debuting for SmackDown. The greatest part is, like, I didn't know much before, like, how, since when Tal Dillinger has been part of WWE, but then when I looked at everyone starting from Kurt Angle tweeting about him, I then got to know, like, he was used as an extra. Then he moved to NXT, where he was one of the faces of NXT, and so he was also part of the Royal Rumble, so it was really good to see the rise of an extra. So it was really good to see that. And during Miz segment, when it was about to over, when I saw that Wild Mist is walking towards the ramp, and I couldn't believe it. I thought it's not happening, but it did happen. Nakamura finally debuts to main roster, and it was really amazing. You're expecting Nakamura to say a few words, but probably they're just keeping that mystique and that strong style aura. If you also remember when he debuted on NXT against Sami Zayn, he didn't say anything much. He was just looking at the camera at a very weird angle, and he was just said, Sami Zayn, I'm coming for you. So there was just like little pieces of phrases he used now and then, which actually comes out to be really amazing. But yes, I'm looking forward for the shake-up. I've been reading news that New Day might be moving to SmackDown, and the much dreaded news, AJ Styles might be moving to Raw. I really don't want him to move to Raw because he was one of those guys because of which I started watching SmackDown on a regular basis. So I just hope they build a better storyline for AJ Styles. And
it's a very good time to be a wrestling fan, because if you would have told me that 5 years ago that people like Kevin Steen, people like El Generico, people like Tyler Black, people like AJ Styles, people like Samoa Joe, people like Shinsuke Nakamura, people like Okada would be fighting in the WWE, I would have told you, like, just go fuck yourself, bro. It's not going to happen. This is a company which hires bodybuilders. But It's happening. It's an indie wrestling fans' wet dream come to life, and this is something which we have been expecting for a long time. And I really hope that the booking doesn't let at least Shinsuke Nakamura down, because in my opinion, when he's on, there's no one like Shinsuke Nakamura. I highly recommend all you listeners out there to check out some of his matches which he's had with Okada. Check out some of his matches which he's had with Goto. Check out some of his matches which he's had with AJ Styles. This guy is the real deal. He may not look it, but when he's on, there's no one better. Probably just AJ Styles, who's probably a little bit better than him. That, in fact, brings our show to a close. Thank you again, both of you all, for being a part of the show. Well, normal services resume next Wednesday as usual. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/IndianNerve, on Facebook at facebook.com/IndianNerve, on Twitter at twitter.com/IndianNerve, on Instagram at instagram.com/IndianNerve, or visit us at www.indiannerve.com. We have some amazing reviews of films, of TV shows, which Aditya himself writes. So you guys can go ahead and check that out, and you can check out our different reviews of movies, different TV shows which we do on every Wednesday on www.youtube.com/IndianNerve. I'd like to thank all your listeners for all your support, and please do like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. Please let us know if you would like us to talk about any of your favorite shows or films. From all of us here, wherever you're listening, I hope that you guys are having a great day, and may the force be with you always.